today's the day. 6 months in a motorhome travelling through Europe. So we went through France, Italy, Slovenia, Croatia, Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, into Poland, through the Baltic states, up through Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, back to France. Belgium's in there somewhere. About 17,000 kilometres or 11,000 miles. Last night we crunched all the numbers. For simplicity's sake, I've put all the numbers into euro, even though in Norway and Hungary and places they had their own currencies. I've just kept it simple, all in euros, and at the end we'll do a bit of a conversion. And when we get on the boat, we'll share those numbers with you. Right, category 1, accommodation or sleeping if you like. So 180 nights, we spent exactly half of those nights in free camping spots, free ears if you like, where we didn't pay a cent. So half the nights didn't cost us a cent. 20% of our nights were in paid ears. Cheapest ear was 2, the dearest one was 15. Sometimes they offered you electricity, Wi-Fi, showers, the whole works. Other times they were a bit basic and it was just basically a car park. And then 30% of our nights were in fully fledged campgrounds. Most of those, however, were in the big cities. So Paris, we spent 5 nights there, 3 nights in Rome, 4 nights in Budapest, 3 in Prague, and most of those came in around the 20 euro mark. The exception to that was Scandinavia, where we sort of nudged over 30 euros on a couple of occasions. So all up, 1,508 euros for 180 nights accommodation.
No surprise, but our biggest expense was food. So 31% of our budget has gone on eating and supermarket shopping, which is a grand total of 2,351 euros. That includes restaurants, treats, supermarkets, toiletries, those kinds of things. It was very, very tempting to eat out a lot in Europe, but we had to ration it because we're on a budget basically and we're travelling for so long. So the majority of our eating was done in the van. But we did let ourselves have a few treats. We did eat out in France, we did eat out in Italy, but most of our eating out was done in places like Croatia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Czech Republic, Poland, where food was a lot cheaper. One country that we didn't eat out in at all was Norway, partly because it is horrendously expensive, but also because where we ended up parking wasn't near towns or cities, so it wasn't even an option. But we did get to try a lot of good food. We certainly didn't go hungry. And we're really pleased with how much we spent in the end.
Our second highest cost was fuel. 99% of that was on diesel. The cheapest diesel we paid was €1.11 in Luxembourg. Most of it though was around the 140, 150 a litre. We needed LPG as well, but that was such a small cost, it's almost negligible. So we spent 2,046 euros.
And another category for us was attractions and activities, and for that we spent 902 euros. You can spend a phenomenal amount of money in Europe if you wanted, going to places, doing activities, but we really thought carefully about what we wanted to do. Paris was a big one for us, so we bought a museum pass there and we went to half a dozen art galleries and museums. We also went to a couple of the chateaus in the Loire Valley. Our other big attractions were things like going to Auschwitz, taking a tour of Colditz, going to the salt mines in Poland, visiting Mont Saint-Michel, but we did find that we didn't actually need to spend a lot of money on attractions because some places are attractions in themselves. So Norway, for example, you sort of go there just to see the nature anyway, and that's all free. And because we like walking around cities a lot, we found that that was enough without going to a whole lot of museums. There were a couple of things we did want to do that we couldn't get into, so when we were in Italy, because we hadn't pre-booked anything, we didn't end up going to the Uffizi in Florence, we didn't end up going to the Colosseum in Rome, but that's just the way it goes.
And the smallest category we're talking about are the costs associated with driving. So these are parking costs, ferry costs, toll roads and vignettes in some countries. And I think we spent €666 all up. Most of that were on ferry crossings, the big ones between Scandinavia and mainland Europe.
Right, so what were the highlights for you?
I guess having been to Europe before, there were no big surprises in France or Italy, as good as they were, but they didn't have that surprise factor. What I enjoyed this time though was the natural beauty, the Plitvice lakes in Croatia, Scandinavia, Norway in particular, the fjords and glaciers. The beauty of Europe is wonderful, and I guess we often overlook that. I also enjoyed discovering the countries like Poland and the Baltic states, countries that used to be sort of shut off to the rest of us for so many years. So yeah, they were my highlights. And your highlights?
I guess for me, the cities and towns were some of the highlights. One of the reasons that we came to Europe was because we wanted to see the old buildings and get that sense of history that we don't really have back home. Paris was a highlight for me. I really liked the art galleries and the museums. Some of the bigger cities like Budapest and Prague were really interesting. There's a real sense of grandeur and elegance to some of those places. Then on the other side there are all the smaller places we went to. Places like Gordon in France and Assisi in Italy, and then discovering all the places in Poland that we hadn't even really heard of, like Zakopane, and then the bigger cities like Lublin. So yeah, lots of interesting places. In fact, there wasn't anywhere we didn't enjoy.